Picture a wheat field in 1944. Every farmer around you is still dragging a combine behind a tractor, and then a bright red machine rolls in with no tractor at all, driving itself. People thought it was witchcraft. That machine kicked off 80 years of engineers building combines the world simply wasn't ready for. Machines with computers before farmers trusted computers. Rotors nobody understood. One combine so far ahead, a giant corporation may have buried it on purpose. Let's count them down. Number 1. Massey-Harris No. 21. To understand why this one was ahead of its time, you have to picture what normal looked like. In the 1930s, a combine was a giant implement dragged across the field by a tractor, with a second engine bolted on just to spin the threshing mechanism. It took a tractor, an operator for the tractor, and a crew on the combine. It was slow, it was heavy, and every time you opened a new field, you trampled a strip of grain just getting the tractor into position. Then an Australian-born Massey-Harris engineer named Tom Carroll did something radical. He put the engine, the header, the threshing drum, the grain tank, and the driver all on one self-propelled machine. No tractor, one man. The first prototype was tested in 1938, and the early Model 20 worked, but it was heavy and expensive, and only around 900 were built. So Massey-Harris refined it into a lighter, cheaper machine, the Model 21. Here's where it becomes legend. It's 1944. America is at war, young men are overseas, and there's a desperate shortage of both labor and grain. Steel is rationed. A Massey-Harris sales executive named Joe Tucker pitched the U.S. War Production Board an audacious idea. Give us enough steel to build 500 extra self-propelled combines, and we'll only sell them to operators who sign a contract promising to harvest at least 2,000 acres each. The board said yes. They called it the Harvest Brigade. Those 500 red combines were loaded onto rail cars, sent to Texas and California, and then they followed the ripening wheat north, through Oklahoma, Kansas, the Dakotas, all the way into Canada. Massey-Harris even flew airplanes over the fields to scout which crops were ready. That single fleet brought in around 15 million bushels of grain off more than 1 million acres, freed up roughly 1,000 tractors for other war work, and saved about 500,000 gallons of fuel. And it almost didn't get its chance, because the farmers were scared of it. When these strange red machines first rolled up to a field, the local growers were hesitant to even let them in. The question on everyone's lips was blunt and simple. Will it save the grain? They'd never seen a combine without a tractor, and they didn't trust it. But once they watched it work, cutting cleanly, wasting almost nothing, one man doing the job of a whole crew, they were sold. Operators who were greeted with suspicion one summer were welcomed back the next. There's a bigger legacy hiding in here too. Those operators who bought a Model 21 and signed that 2,000-acre contract had to keep the machine busy to make it pay. So they loaded it onto a truck and chased the harvest across state lines, cutting for one farmer after another. Number 2. Claas SF Hercules. While North America was racing ahead with self-propelled machines, Europe had a very different harvest. Smaller fields, damper climates, narrower lanes, and farms that had been shattered by the Second World War. Many people assumed the big self-propelled American combine simply wouldn't translate. The German company Claas disagreed. Claas had already built continental Europe's first combine harvester back in 1936 and a successful trailed model called the Super in 1946. But founder August Claas wanted a self-propelled machine of his own. On the 15th of December 1952, his 65th birthday, the company unveiled it and named it the Hercules. There was just one problem. The name Hercules was already trademarked. So within that same year, Claas rechristened the machine the SF, short for Selbstfahrer, literally self-propeller. And the SF was genuinely clever. Almost everything on it, from the hydraulics to the air-cooled 4-cylinder engine, was designed and built in-house. It ran on a straight-through longitudinal crop flow. It put the driver up high on a central platform for a clear view of the reel, with the grain tank sitting behind him, a layout that would define Claas combines for decades. But the real reason it belongs on this list is versatility. In an era when most machines did one job, the SF could be adjusted to handle wheat, peas, rapeseed, maize, clover, and grass seed. For the big contractors and large farms that could afford one, it wasn't just a combine, it was a machine that reshaped what a European harvest could look like. Nearly 20,000 were built before production ended in 1963, and it laid the foundation for every self-propelled Claas that followed. In a post-war Europe still rebuilding, that was a machine reaching into the future. Number 3. Fortschritt E512. Now for one almost nobody outside of Europe talks about. And that's exactly why it belongs here. In the 1960s, the fields of East Germany were being farmed by enormous collective cooperatives, and the state's aging combines were simply too small to keep up. So the East German manufacturer Fortschritt, the name means progress, set out to build a modern high-capacity machine entirely on their own side of the Iron Curtain. The result was the E512, launched in 1968. And here's the surprising part. This was not some crude backward machine. It was genuinely competitive with the best combines the West was building at the time, going toe-to-toe with machines like the Claas Senator. It had a wide cutting platform, a big threshing drum, and a cab that kept improving over the years. Later versions even offered air conditioning. The proof is in where it ended up. This was a combine built in a communist-planned economy that was good enough to be exported into capitalist Western Europe, into Sweden, France, and Finland. Its single biggest sales success was actually in Sweden, a Western country buying a machine from behind the curtain because it did the job and did it cheaply. And the scale is staggering. From 1968 to 1988, Fortschritt built more than 51,000 E512s, making it the highest production combine ever to come out of East Germany. That's a machine most of the Western world never even saw, quietly outproducing famous names and slipping across the political divide on merit alone. It was advanced for exactly where and when it was built, and it deserves to be remembered. Number 4. New Holland TR70. For nearly a century, every combine on Earth separated grain the same way. A spinning drum knocked the grain loose, and then the leftover straw wobbled across a set of oscillating racks called straw walkers, shaking out the last kernels as it went. It worked, but straw walkers are slow. They take up enormous space, and on a hillside the grain slides to one side and you lose it. In 1975, New Holland threw the whole concept out. They launched the TR70, and the TR stood for twin rotor. Instead of a drum and walkers, the crop was split into two streams and fed into a pair of long counter-rotating rotors spinning inside cages. The crop spiraled down the length of those rotors, and centrifugal force flung the grain out through the openings. The result was gentler on the grain, faster, and far less wasteful. And on the side of the machine, New Holland literally painted the words that summed up the revolution: "Look, no straw walkers." This wasn't a rushed idea. The project traced back to a prototype tested in corn in 1968, built out of a Belgian Claas straw walker machine. New Holland had bought the Claas company back in 1964. The TR70 also holds a quieter distinction. It was the very first New Holland combine actually built in the United States. It ran a 145 horsepower Ford engine with a big 158 bushel grain tank, and you could option it up to a Caterpillar diesel. Why did gentleness matter so much? Because a conventional drum threshes by beating cracks and chips kernels, which is a disaster if you're harvesting seed you intend to plant or crops that bruise easily. By spinning the crop fast and letting centrifugal force ease the grain out through the concaves, the twin rotor system handled the harvest far more delicately. And engineers designed the machine to be compact and steady enough for hilly ground. With a single set of front-end attachments, you could swap to switch between corn, beans, and wheat. The TR70 genuinely shocked the industry. It was the first commercially successful rotary combine on the market, beating the more famous single-rotor machines to the field by 2 full years. That head start didn't come without drama either. The leap into rotary technology in this era sparked fierce competition and legal battles over who owned what. But the twin-rotor concept the TR70 introduced didn't disappear. It evolved through the TR and CR series for the next 50 years, with over 70,000 twin-rotor machines eventually built. In 1975, though, most farmers had never seen anything like it, a combine that had simply deleted the one component every rival still relied on. Number 5. International Harvester Axial-Flow. If the new Holland TR70 cracked the door open on rotary threshing, International Harvester kicked it off its hinges. In 1977, IH launched the Axial-Flow models 1440 and 1460, and it took the rotary idea in a different, even bolder direction. Not two rotors, but one single massive longitudinally mounted rotor doing everything. On a conventional combine, the crop moves through the machine in awkward stages. Drum, then walkers, then sieves, with jarring handoffs in between. The Axial-Flow smoothed all of that into one continuous spiral. Crop entered the front, wrapped around a single 24-inch rotor, and threshed and separated continuously as it flowed from front to back. Fewer moving parts, more capacity, and gentler handling. What makes this too advanced isn't just the design, it's how long it took to get there. International Harvester had been quietly researching rotary threshing since the 1950s. Their own lab studies had shown decades earlier that an open cylinder and concave separated grain more efficiently than straw walkers ever could. But version after version failed to make it out of the lab. It took more than 20 years of engineering before they were confident enough to build it. Even then, they were nervous. Betting the company on a machine this unconventional was terrifying. The first axial flows had a side straw discharge that made them look bizarre, and the marketing team feared hard to sell. Engineers had to fight to move that discharge to the rear. IH was so unsure that they handpicked a small group of producers to buy the very first 300 machines and feed back real-world results before a wider launch. It was a machine that asked farmers to unlearn 100 years of habit. Those farmers took a gamble on a radical-looking combine, and they were right. The single-rotor axial flow became one of the most influential combine designs in history. Nearly 50 years later, its direct descendants are still rolling off the line under the Case IH badge. That's a design that was ahead of its time and stayed ahead. Number 6. Gleaner N-Series. By the late 1970s, the rotor wars were on. New Holland had twin rotors running lengthwise. International Harvester had one big rotor running lengthwise. So when Gleaner, the silver combines built by Alice Chalmers, entered the rotary game in 1979 with the N-Series, they did something nobody else dared. They turned the rotor sideways. The Gleaner N6, followed by the smaller N5 and the huge N7, used a transverse rotor mounted crosswise in the machine rather than front to back. It was a completely different engineering philosophy, and it came with a genuinely clever cleaning trick. Accelerator rolls flung the grain downward at around 1,500 feet per minute, spreading it into a thin sheet that got blasted clean by the fan before it even reached the sieves. A brilliant side effect. Because the grain was moving so fast and so evenly, the machine could work on slopes without the crop piling to one side, no fancy self-leveling gear required. And it was loaded with technology farmers had never touched. The N6 came with push-button features that, as the era's literature bluntly put it, no other combine offered. It was powerful enough to swallow a 30-foot grain head, and it could run the very first 12-row corn head available in the United States. Then came the N7. It was the highest capacity combine of its day, and it made Gleaner the maker of the biggest combine in North America, a title the brand held for roughly 20 years before a competitor could match it. There's a nice bit of history behind that silver paint, too. Gleaner had a reputation as an innovator going all the way back to the Baldwin brothers, who founded it in 1923. They were among the pioneers of the self-propelled combine long before it was common, and they built their machines out of galvanized sheet metal, which is why Gleaners gleamed silver instead of wearing a company color. By the time the N-Series arrived, that willingness to do things differently was in the brand's DNA. The transverse rotor design never became the industry standard the way the axial designs did. But that's part of what makes it fascinating. It was a genuinely original answer to the same problem, built by a company that had spent half a century refusing to follow the herd, and for 2 decades, nobody could outmuscle it. Number 7. John Deere 7720 Titan. By the late 1970s, farmers weren't asking for bigger combines. They were asking for combines that could harvest more acres before the weather turned. In 1979, John Deere answered with the 7720 Titan, and it quietly changed what growers expected from a harvesting machine. At first glance, it looked similar to the successful 6600 and 7700 series, but underneath was an entirely new concept. Deere introduced the Titan separation system, redesigning the cylinder, walkers, and cleaning shoe to move crop through the machine more efficiently. The result was a dramatic increase in capacity, roughly 30% more throughput than the combines it replaced, without making the machine significantly larger. That mattered because farmers could cover more acres in a day while burning less fuel per bushel harvested. Instead of buying an enormous new combine, many growers could simply step into a 7720 Titan and harvest fields at a pace that had previously required much bigger equipment. The machine also featured a comfortable sound guard cab, hydrostatic drive, and improved reliability, making long harvest days far easier on operators. Those features quickly made it one of the most popular combines of the 1980s across North America. The Titan's influence lasted far beyond its production run. Its higher capacity separation system became the foundation for later John Deere combines, proving that smarter engineering, not just more horsepower, was the future of harvesting. In an era when most manufacturers focused on building bigger machines, the 7720 Titan showed there was a better way, and the rest of the industry spent years catching up. Number 8. John Deere CTS. Here's a fight that defined combine engineering for decades. The old conventional drum was fantastic at one job, threshing, knocking the grain loose gently, giving you a beautiful clean sample. The new rotary machines were fantastic at a different job, separation, squeezing every last kernel out at high capacity. Each side had a weakness, so what if you could take the best of both? In 1992, John Deere did exactly that, and called it the CTS, Cylinder Tine Separator, and it's remembered as the world's first hybrid combine. Up front, it kept a traditional cylinder and concave to thresh the crop gently, protecting grain quality. But instead of old-fashioned straw walkers behind it, Deere installed two counter-rotating rotors fitted with tines to fling the crop apart and shake out every kernel. Conventional threshing, rotary separation in one machine. It was a genuinely elegant idea, and the concept was so sound that once Deere's patent protection expired, competitors rushed to build hybrids of their own. Today, hybrid combines are a major category across the industry, and the CTS got there first. And yet, in its own time, it was almost too clever. The CTS earned a reputation among the farmers who ran one as an underrated, undersupported machine with enormous capacity for its size, the kind of combine that a small group of owners quietly swore by while the wider market was slow to embrace it. Its sales start was sluggish. It didn't even reach some markets like the United Kingdom until 1998, 6 years after launch. It was a machine whose engineering the market took years to fully appreciate, which, if you think about it, is the exact definition of being ahead of your time. Number 9. Case IH 1680 Axial-Flow. By the early 1980s, farmers had accepted that rotary combines were the future, but many of the first machines still had rough edges. Then Case IH refined the concept into something so reliable and efficient that it became the benchmark for an entire generation. That machine was the 1680 Axial-Flow, introduced in 1985. Built around International Harvester's revolutionary single-rotor design, the 1680 wasn't about reinventing the combine, it was about perfecting it. The larger rotor delivered greater capacity while handling grain gently enough to reduce cracked kernels and improve grain quality. With fewer moving parts than conventional straw walker machines, it also proved easier to maintain during the busiest weeks of harvest. What really made the 1680 special was its versatility. Farmers could move from wheat to corn to soybeans with minimal adjustments, and the combine handled high-moisture crops and difficult conditions that often slowed conventional machines. Its spacious cab, hydrostatic drive, and dependable performance turned long harvest days into something far more manageable. The machine quickly earned a reputation for doing one thing exceptionally well: harvesting more acres with fewer breakdowns. Across North America, many growers who bought a 1680 kept it for decades, and countless examples are still working today. More importantly, the 1680 proved that the single-rotor concept wasn't just an experiment, it was the future. It cemented the Axial-Flow design as one of the most influential combine platforms ever built, with modern Case IH combines still carrying the same basic engineering philosophy nearly 40 years later. That's not just a successful machine, that's a design that outlived its era. Number 10. Claas Lexion 480. We finish with the machine that pulled almost every thread on this list together into one monster. On the 12th of November 1995, at the giant Agritechnica show, Claas unveiled the Lexion 480, and at that moment it was simply the most powerful combine harvester in the world. Its heart was something called the APS hybrid system, and it was the same best of both worlds philosophy taken to the extreme. First, an accelerated pre-separation stage flung a huge portion of the grain out before the crop even reached the main drum. Then, an oversized threshing drum did the heavy threshing. Then, instead of straw walkers, 2 separation rotors squeezed out the rest. The payoff was throughput that had never been seen before, grain pouring off at more than 35 tons an hour, climbing toward 40. No combine on earth could match it. But raw power was only half the story. This was a rolling computer. Within a year, the Lexion could produce satellite-based yield maps of the field it was cutting, folding precision farming right into a flagship machine. And to carry all that weight without crushing the soil, Claas fitted it with TerraTrack, full rubber crawler tracks on the front axle, making it the first high-capacity combine in the world to run on tracks like that. The Lexion was such a leap that it went global fast. In 1997, Claas struck a partnership with Caterpillar to build and sell the machine in North America out of Omaha, Nebraska. Its descendants would go on to set official world records. One later, Lexion cut 532 tons of wheat in a single 8-hour shift. The 480 was the moment the combine stopped being just a harvesting machine and became a high-tech, data-gathering, soil-friendly powerhouse. In 1995, that was the future, and Claas had already built it. If you had to bet, which of these was the biggest missed opportunity, the buried Bi-Rotor, or something else entirely? Tell me in the comments. And if you enjoyed this, there's more machinery history waiting for you right here.